people can comment, and we will go live here. Hello, everybody. This is your host today, Marie LaBrosse, and I'm coming to you from beautiful Southwest Florida. I'm here today with two comedians that we're going to delve into their lives and how do they get into where they're at, because looking back at their backgrounds, comedy is in everybody's life. It's what you make of it. And
Absolutely.
we will take this time to find out what really makes a very good comedian. So welcome to the stage.
I'm not sure you got the right people for that, Marie, but we'll take a stab at it. But
I learned something.
Well, I know some real comedians. You're real comedians. Comedy is all around us. And one of the things that I want the audience to know is you may not think you're funny, but it's the delivery and how you put the stories together, right? Right, fellow Mark and Al?
Yep. Yeah, and Marie, you're speaking gospel right there. That's exactly what comedy is. It isn't what a lot of people think, which is just they see something on the internet or a joke or something like that. But if you're doing true stand up, yeah, you're right. It's a flow, and you need to make that flow work to get some success to it.
And let's talk about you two. How did you two meet?
I'll let Mark, buddy, you handle that one.
We met at a comedy club. He started about 5 years before I did. And so this was back in like 93, 94.
Probably. I'd say 93, yeah.
Yeah, because that's when I started, 93. So summer of 93, I think. I was working the door at the Punchline because that's the big comedy club in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
Yeah. And we both lived up there then. And that was the great way when you first start, is to work at a comedy club. You learn a lot, and plus you're always there when somebody doesn't show up.
So you get the stage. That means you get the stage time. And that's what you're always looking for, is to be able to be up on stage. Now, we're going to go back into your early life, because I know that you have and where were you born?
I was going into a Steve Martin movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the jerk. He's just using a quote of one of our favorite movies, where Steve Martin always said in that movie, "I was born a poor black child." So yeah,
absolutely. So, Mark, let's start. You're originally from Atlanta, or were you born from your mother? Where did you come from?
I was hatched. I came from the planet Zorbo. I was a pod.
You know what? And I believe in aliens, so you're on the right show.
Marie, you go for it. You're cooking. You take it.
Your story's better than mine.
Yeah. So you came out of a pod.
I was born in Atlanta.
Okay.
And, grew up there, and we moved down here to Port Charlotte. Another month or so, it'll be 3 years. So most of my life up in Atlanta. We just loving it down here, though.
And I want to go back to the early stages of your life, because when I was reading your bio, what did you do before comedy? And did you have any aspirations for doing comedy later on in your life? Were you a funny guy when you were in school? I
was funny, but I wasn't the class clown. I was funny enough to always get in trouble for being funny.
And you went to Catholic. Well, tell him you went to this very strict Catholic school, Mark.
Yeah, the nuns had no sense of humor. Didn't have my sense of humor.
I should grab a ruler here. We could be hitting.
Those are true. People think it's a rumor.
Yeah.
I was the kid that if Rodney Dangerfield or George Carlin was going to be on Johnny Carson that night, I would sneak downstairs and hide behind the couch and watch it. And I always got busted trying to sneak back to bed. And looking back, I think my mom let me watch, and then still had to bust me afterwards, though.
Well, you know what? Those are the things that happen in our life. Now, when I was reading, where were you working before you went for your first comedy?
I was a corporate travel agent, which I was really, really good at, and I really, really hated it. But what really got me into, I don't know, the entertainment field was some of the people out there might remember the nightclub chain called Studebakers. It was an oldies club that started in Atlanta and then franchised and went all over the country and all over the world. It's a 50s, 60s and beach music nightclub. And that's where I was a DJ and did that for a long time. And when I stopped being a DJ, I kind of missed. I don't want to call it the spotlight because you weren't really in the spotlight as a DJ, but I thought it was back then. It was the best I'd ever known. And I heard about this comedy workshop, and it sounded like fun. And I would tell people I didn't have $3,500 to go to spring training baseball fantasy camp, so I spent $200 to go to comedy fantasy camp. But I just did it for fun, and I had no idea it was going to change my life. And that was a little over 30 years ago, and I've been a comic ever since.
And we hear about the starving artist. Have you been able to make a living?
Yeah, the first 5 years, I wasn't full time in comedy. I was still the travel agent, and that's back when the internet was just getting started, and you could work remotely. And since I was so good at my job, they didn't want me to leave, so I could go on the road and really pay my dues. I mean, back then, an MC at a show, they would give you a hotel, but you'd only make $150, $200 a week, and I still had my daytime job paycheck. So I could afford to go learn the trade, get my chops, whatever you want to call it. And then around 98 is when I had enough bookings where I had looked at my calendar and said, I got to get rid of one of these jobs. I can't do them both anymore. And I always have that old adage where in 100 years, we're all going to be dead anyway. So why not chase the dream? And actually, it turned out well because like I told everybody else, within a couple of years, the internet put about 95% of the travel agencies out of business. And so I made the right jump, and it wasn't always easy. I, had my tough times like anybody does in this, but
Come on, Mark. This is the perfect time to talk about spending the night at the Walmart.
Okay.
You gotta tell that this is the perfect part of your
we have a
blog.
longer format today, don't we? I had a show in Miami on Wednesday, and then a show, weekend shows in Fort Myers on Friday and Saturday. So Thursday night was off, and when you're on the road, you have to pay for that yourself. Well, I got to the hotel. I kind of killed as much time as I could on Thursday night, and I went to the hotel, and this is the same hotel the comics have been staying there for years, so they knew we were coming. And more times than not, if you get there like at midnight, they'd feel sorry for you and just let you check in early and give you the room. Well, this place wasn't. It was going to charge me like $110 for a room I was going to get free in the morning. So my strategies from there is I would go, okay, I'll wait, and I'll sit in the lobby and just stare at them. And usually they get creeped out and give me a room, but this time that didn't work. And it was South Florida, so I was just going to sleep in the car. But I got in the car and started driving around. I went to an IHOP, and you've outstayed your welcome when they absolutely will not refill your tea again. You have to go.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go sleep in the car. And then I saw it. I got the blue and gold holy grail of road comics. It was the Walmart Supercenter. So I said, I'll just go in there. Over in the pharmaceutical section, they had one of those therapeutic chairs with the vibrating thing, and it was sitting next to a TV. And the TV had a VCR in it, and they were playing an old Letterman episode with Bill Murray. And I thought, okay, I'll live here. And when Letterman ended, I was still wide awake, and it was about 3 a.m, and I saw the VCR attachment. So I said, if you don't consume a product or leave the property with a product, you have not stolen said product, correct?
Right.
Right.
So I went over to the VCR department, the tapes, and the movie Tin Cup, the golf movie with Kevin Costner.
Right.
Remember that?
Yep.
It had just come out. So I very carefully, I did break a law, I guess, open up the package, and I put the tape in. And then they had a bunch of pallets sitting around for people stocking shelves overnight. So I kind of built a fort around my chair. I went and got something to eat, something to drink, a blanket, almost a teddy bear if I could have. And I'm just sitting there enjoying this movie. And I thought this is the greatest thing in the world. And then if you remember the movie, at the end of the movie, he takes a 12 on the 18th hole. And right when that big scene was happening, I thought it was an earthquake because my world was rumbling around me. And it was a 17-year-old stock boy doing his job. And he's moving the pallets. And so when he pulls that pallet back, he looks down and just pictured me with a big Coke and snack and blankie. And I'm just kind of looking up at him. And he just looked at me and kind of rolled his eyes and went back to work. And I went, okay, I better go. So by then the sun was up. I got in the car, went to the hotel. Now the day shift was in. They felt sorry for me and gave me the room. So I beat the night.
Yeah. So you were able to sleep then for a while before you had to be.
Marie, that is the ultimate. He has a couple road stories, and from between the two of us having about 63 to 70 years or however many years in the business. That was
we're also talking
you were
miles a year in our car.
Yeah, you were creative. I mean,
miles between the two of us.
Yeah, well, and the point being is that, the bills, you still had to pay bills and you had to find a way to make that work. So Mark was he was my hero. He was ingenious. He would constantly, just like you talked about hotels, we were always strategic. And when we would check into a hotel to get the maximum amount of time out of that hotel, before we had to go on to the next place and the next show. And oh my goodness, some of the hotels that were close by for us to a movie theater or a Denny's or, the things that people, batting cages, putt-putts, the things that, people with a lot of time on their hands do during the day, that was just, that was like the Ark of the Covenant for us to find.
I've been threatening to write a book and call it "How to Live on the Road for Just Gas Money."
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things.
Is mid-range hotels, they compete with their breakfasts now, and that stopped during COVID, but they brought them back. And if I've been driving in the car all night, I look just as gruff as if I've been sleeping all night. So around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, you pull around to the back of a hotel or something, sneak in the back and just walk with authority right
absolutely
into the area. And by the time the person has enough nerve to come ask if you're actually staying at the hotel, you've had your waffle.
Very seldom. And he, these are funny stories, but and everybody says, "Oh, you're exaggerating." No, we're not exaggerating. We're trying to find that spot that's going to give us the best value for what we can do at that particular time on the road. And Mark was, he still, he doesn't have to do it anymore, but he is the master of that.
Did I tell you about this one guy? Back when hotels used metal keys instead of swipe cards, so this guy's back in the 80s. He, whenever he'd get to a hotel, he'd request a room as far away from the front lobby as he could get. And actually find out because he's trying to hide. And he would keep the key when he left and keep a whole ring and would write the city, the name of the hotel, and the room number on that key. So if he's passing through town 6 months later, he'd look for it. Room 214 at the Pineapple Inn. They'd call it up and ask to speak to room 214. And if they connect the call, then he's like, okay, this isn't going to work. You just hang up. But if they say, sorry, there's nobody staying there, he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong number. Now he knew the room was available. And he'd always gotten rooms way in the back of the hotel. So this guy would go, let himself in the room, go to bed, get up early, shower, and leave. And that's actually closer to a felony than anything I've done.
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. The only person who suffers is the poor housekeeper who marked off cleaning the room.
Oh, right.
When they find out it's not clean anymore. So that wasn't me. I can't remember the guy's name. I know you know him though.
Well, that is what I would call the evolution time of stand-up comedy. My stories, I have many road stories as well, but what I think Mark's example is what the ultimate time was for both of us traveling, not always being the headline act, not always the person making the most money, and in order for you to make sure that you met your obligations back at home, you had to come home with a certain amount of money. I mean, you really could not, you could not blow that extra $50 on a meal or a hotel or anything else, because that was literally that was literally your profit margin that was going to pay some bill that you had back at your residence.
Yep.
So
this guy, he killed the Easter Bunny one time. Remember that?
Well, I say that I was catching a flight. I was actually outside of Norfolk, Virginia, and I had a rental car. And on Easter morning, I was getting the very first flight back to Atlanta from Norfolk, Virginia, and that meant from the show was actually in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, which is probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours from the Norfolk airport. And so there I am at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now this is Easter morning. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm seeing deer, I'm seeing wildlife, on all these state roads. And all of a sudden, right in front of me is this very large bunny, a literal bunny rabbit. And I'm going to call it a fever dream. Maybe I wasn't totally awake, but for some reason I had this guilty feeling all the way into returning that rental car into Norfolk that I had killed the Easter bunny who had ran out in the middle of the road on Easter morning. So
chocolate eggs that morning.
yeah. So I mean but the fun part about it is to listen to folks, like ourselves who have had that journey that started years and years ago, because the business, and Marie, you know this, and we know this right now from broadcasting all over the place on social media, that the entire business has changed. It is just a completely different set of rules than what once was when I made that decision to give up my day job and go out full time as a stand-up comedian. There's no way in this environment that I could have ever afforded to do that. But then on the other hand, I just got a notification that one of my TikTok and Instagram videos went viral, and all of a sudden I'm seeing a check that is coming in from those guys, and
awesome.
Yeah.
And what he asked me before, Elle did before we came on, what's the format I'm using? It's actually StreamYard, and with StreamYard, you can stream to all these social media places all at one time simultaneously.
Yeah.
And like the guys didn't do it before, but they were, if they wanted to, they would have been able to stream to their social media with me right now. They just come in as my guest, and we would be streaming there. And also, you get to, it saves automatically for you the video and the audio, and they have a way for you to edit it for making TikTok videos, and
Right.
that it'll do it for you. So there's so many tools out there that if you're promoting yourself, and that's what Elle and Mark do, they are people that they're the product, not anything else. The product, they are the product. And when we work for a living, it's our skill set that we sell. And when we work for somebody, or we had our own business, but I was also a manager with Kmart, and I could do a lot of comedy about that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, Marie, see, you have taken advantage of what is now the paradigm of getting into entertainment, of which there's the ups and the downs to that. I mean, the great part is that you can produce something out of your home or, close by, and you can end up making money through social media and places like that. Whereas Mark and I, when we started out, there was nothing like this out there. And the way we made our money was one night we were in Greensboro, North Carolina. The next night we were in Winston-Salem, and the next weekend we were in Wilmington. And it was all a very labor intensive, you show up, do your show kind of thing. Whereas the great example like today, if this was way back when, I may be coming to you from a cruise ship and Mark may be broadcasting from some other city, and we would be working our way into our big show on Saturday night with the Peace River folks. But now it's like we're at home. We're doing our thing from home, and it's a whole new it's a whole new way of doing business for us.
Well, when we started, the closest thing we had to the internet would be a Polaroid camera.
Yep.
Right.
Sure.
Paid, and you have to pay a lot for that film, and then you'd have to send it off. And now, when you actually put in for a movie or anything like that, everything's digital.
Yes, it is. Yep, you're out. See, you're so right. Yeah.
I have an agent, guys. We'll talk about that later. But I have an agent. I actually just I would do. Anyhow, blah blah blah. It's
Well, I mean, Marie, what you're saying is exactly where it is at, because Mark and I can both give you the number. I can't tell you the number of times I took a load of packages that had VCR tapes and a presentation folder and everything else, and sent them to comedy clubs and booking agents all over the country, and then there was
$15 a pop.
Right, and you're right, Marie. You've taken advantage of technology like this, where you're gonna get a lot of benefit from it, and literally you're not even having to go to the post office to do it.
I don't have to leave my home.
Yeah.
I can be a hermit and actually do a lot of these things. I want to talk to you, Al, because I already touched base with Mark. Where did you grow up? And the pod too.
Yeah, well, actually, I mean, you can say I'm Southern, but I'm also Northern. My mom and dad were in the medical profession. My dad was a doctor and my mom was a nurse. And at the time, the Lutheran Church did a lot of outreach for services to various and sundry areas of the country that were being relatively underserved, and that included areas in North Georgia and Appalachia and all that kind of area. So I was born in Chicago, but ended up going through the South, and then unfortunately my father passed away when I was real young, and my mom moved her and I down to the Sarasota area. And I actually, am a product of the local Sarasota scene. I don't know how else to put it. Let's just put it this way: where you guys are at Port Charlotte was merely a mile marker. It didn't even exist. But I grew up in Sarasota, went from first grade to 12th grade through the Sarasota school system, graduated from Sarasota High School, and then moved on. I started working for the church and doing work for the YMCA, so a lot of social services kind of thing. And so through my college years, everything like that, lived in places from Western Virginia to Columbia, South Carolina, 5 years in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then finally ended up in Atlanta, and that's where Mark and I ended up meeting. But coming back and living in this area again is, it's like they say you can never come home again. Well, I can tell you, home doesn't look like home. This is as new and as different as anything, because of the massive growth of this particular region.
Well, and when you're talking about that, Al, I'm sorry, Al, you are so fortunate to have grown up in Sarasota because it is the smallest city in the U.S. with the largest art scene. And it doesn't matter whether it's visual art to uh, performing arts, opera, whatever you want. I used to have a show about art, and I've had a lot of the people that are involved in the arts up there, and
Right.
everybody wants to be like Sarasota because Sarasota is the dream place to be for any of the arts. And
You're right. But the most interesting part of that, Marie, is that you talk about how good and positive it is. And believe it or not, and you know this, I'm sure, from all your history, that the Sarasota art scene was really started by the circus, by
right,
John Ringling.
right,
And
exactly.
and so you have this kind of like different type of entertainment when you think about the circus and everything like that and all the people that are involved with circuses, but yet John and Mabel Ringling had very exquisite artsy kind of tastes. And just as a side note, the Walendas, the tightrope
Right,
walkers,
right.
I believe it or not, their compound was across the street from where I grew up, and I literally cut through their compound when I walked to school in the mornings. So,
You didn't
yeah.
do the tightrope though when you walked to
Look at me. No, I'm not a tightrope guy. No, no. But you could tell that they were. The fun part about walking through the Walenda compound was that people don't understand in the real circus that yes, you have all these exotic names of different acts and everything like that. But I can tell you, the tightrope walkers might also be the horse trainers. The horse trainers might work on the trapeze. They just got in different costumes. It's not much different than old professional wrestling. You might have had 5 parts in the circus, but you were under an assumed name in a different place. So me going through the Walenda compound, there would be a trapeze rig set up. There would be tight ropes, but there would also be a stable where there'd be horses, and they had several training, the horse training circles and things like that. And I didn't think twice about it as a child, but now that I look back on it, I walked through history
yes.
every day on my way to school.
And how did you get into comedy?
How did I get into comedy?
Like a
You
little
know,
boy, you know.
Yeah, well, as much as anything, it was I would, not to get deeply psychological, but I think it was a defense mechanism that I have been always a big overweight kid. And I found that I could beat people to the punch as far as getting made fun of and all that kind of stuff if I was the one making the joke from the get-go. And I think that's where my real sense of humor got developed, was through that way, but it also was a great way to be accepted, within your peer group of people and make the joke before they could make the joke. So I,
Exactly.
yeah, so I was real good with that. So I had a love of comedy all along, and then the HBO cable time came along, and just like Mark would tell you, you grabbed up. Especially the George Carlin specials and all the different things. I mean, you literally would just, it was like a magnet to seeing all that stuff. Then I finally got to see my first live stand-up show in a club in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the headliner was the guy from Welcome Back, Kotter, by the name of Gabe Kaplan.
Yeah.
And he was great, or at least I thought he was great. And I mean, I was absolutely enthralled with watching him, in essence, control about 300 people in a nightclub in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I mean, they were just hanging on every one of his words. And then the MC came up at the end, and this is long before there were training schools or any kind of classes or anything like that. And the MC just came up and said, "Well, hey, if you think you can do this, we have open mic night on Monday nights here, all you need to do is sign up." And I was there with a bunch of my YMCA staff people, and they just all kept elbowing me, going, "Al, there's no difference between making kids laugh in camp and drunk adults. It's the same. It's the same thing." So yeah, so you can do this. And one of the reasons Mark and I are such a composite team together is that, as Mark likes to say, I'm the guy who, you give me an idea and I go run towards the pool and I don't even look to see if there's water inside the pool. I'll just take my jump and leap and go in there and splat on the concrete. Whereas Mark hears an idea and he's smart enough. He's the smart one of us two. He'll say, "Wait a minute, Al, let me walk up to the edge and see if there's actually water in that pool before you just go jumping in and taking a splat." So that's where I think our team as comics we're so good at that, because we bring these different kind of talents to the stage.
And Mark, talking about that, you both had, and I know we could go on for hours here, and I want to make sure that we're staying in a time limit, but let's talk about the two of you getting together, and let's talk about, how did you even get a wife along the way? Both of you are married, and did you have children? I mean, did you find time for that stuff?
None that have had paper served on me. No.
No.
No. So, look, families, Mark and I can both tell you about relationships and the rigors of.
She's on the show, so let me grab her.
Yeah. Let's bring Mark's wife into it, and that way she can tell you for an absolute fact what I love it. I love the fact that we're on live streaming all over the world, and Mark's like, "Wait a minute, let me go grab her. We'll get
the wife."
Yeah, let's go. I'll let her out here for a minute and go grab her.
Done, so I'm bringing her.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. And Al, are you married? Are you going through a divorce? What's going on?
Well, inquiring minds want to know. So I have to leave it, a little bit of mystery to that. You'd have to come to my show on Saturday night, and you'll hear way more about all of that. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to sound like a politician on this one, because part of my show is all about that subject, and I'd rather the people see it live than have everything revealed on your show right here in the middle of the day.
Okay, well, and just for our audience that is listening right now, you're listening to Al Ernst and Mark Evans, Comediennes, and I'm your show host, Marie LaBrosse, and they're going to be performing at the Punta Gorda Civic Association.
What a name.
Peace River Wildlife Center, because they're building a new home.
So, that's an entire paragraph, Marie. I want you to know that.
I'm trying to spit it out at one time. And I don't speak well. I don't speak English well. I'm originally from Minnesota, don't you know? So we talk kind of half Canadian, half whatever.
You're cool. Well,
Mark,
I'll let you turn it over to Mark, because these guys have the most unique story right here.
Well, Mark, this is your wife. Introduce the audience to your wife.
This is Lori. She'll be on the show too.
She will. Is she? Are you a comedian, Lori?
I am, yes.
Okay. Do you perform with comedy around the area? Yeah, very good there, Mark. You know how to get that picture in there. And you perform, and I am. You guys must know Kathy McSteen and those different people in Guildpool and all. Gid Pool, and all those different people because
Hey, Marie, we made Gid Pool's career, okay?
oh,
Mark and I made Gid
on
Pool's
the
career.
cruise ship. Okay, we'll have to have another show about that one and have Gid on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lori. Tell us about how you two met and how does it work in a life of a comedian for having a marriage? And how did he propose? We could do it.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know we were going. Man, you are busting all kinds of news here today,
I
Marie.
gave her the rings she told me to buy.
You follow directions well. We met the old-fashioned way, online.
Oh, okay. So a dating app.
Yeah, yes, we did. And it turns out that we basically grew up together but didn't know each other.
So are you originally from Atlanta too?
Yes.
Oh, so you both met up there. You what dating app? Do you mind saying?
Yeah, we do not.
I'm not on it anymore. No, I'm not on it.
No, I was wondering, yeah, are you on that app now? Is this something that you need to break? Some
Yeah.
other news you need to break here?
It was Plenty of Fish, which was the free one, which means a lot of people are on there. A lot of
Plenty of free fish.
on there.
Yeah. Playing a fish. Oh, instead of playing a fiddle. Okay.
And then we dated for a year, and then we got married on April Fool's Day
In Vegas.
In Vegas in 2014.
Oh, so you're newlywed still.
Yeah, it would be
9 years.
10 years.
10 years coming up. Yeah. So and what made you be attracted to him?
Oh,
Wow. I want to hear this. Come on.
So do I.
huge reasons.
We'll talk later off air.
he's a funny guy. I have always been a funny person, and I'm attracted to funny people, and we clicked. Plus, we grew up in the same place. We had a lot of mutual friends. Our fathers actually were both pilots for Eastern Airlines, and they flew together. And
for 6 months, we worked across the street from each other.
Yeah, we went to rival high schools, and then cut to like 30 some odd years later when we were communicating via this app before we met. He was looking on my Facebook profile and said, "Oh, I see you're working on your doctorate at Piedmont College. My sister works there." And I asked who she was, and he told me, and she would be one of the 3 professors that I had already put on my dissertation committee. So
Wow.
we always said it was fate. You know, we don't even like each other, but we had to get married because of all
We
the
had no choice.
everything we had in common.
So do you have a PhD?
I do.
And what is that in?
In education.
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 So
Marie, you gotta ask her the other really celebrity question here. You don't,
No.
who amongst us all has been a contestant on Jeopardy?
Oh, have you? Oh, you know, I could never do that. What year?
2002. We actually filmed it in December 2001, but it aired in March of 2002.
Okay.
So, long time.
And how, did you do well? Did you make it? Did you win your round?
I finished in the top 3.
That was very good. That was very good. I like that. Yes. And you do comedy too. Now, do you do education? Have you used that degree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've had stories about my kids for a long time, so it was really easy to incorporate that into my comedy.
Oh, so very interesting. You're a very interesting person. Very.
I mean, that is just like the coolest thing ever. A comedian married to another comedian, but the doctorate degree with the Jeopardy. I mean, come on. How does it not get better than that?
She is a brainiac. I have a daughter that graduated from MIT with three degrees.
Wow.
3 degrees, yeah. 3 degrees of 6 degrees of separation. But anyhow, I don't think she ever tried out for that. She was the one Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, though. And she got the Othello. She called a friend. And the game, the one with the black, we never played that, and we're game players. Anyhow, back to you guys. Enough about Marie. let's talk about Mark and his life. Mark,
Tell us about your life.
tell us about
I am his life.
yeah, you are.
I see who has the chair now.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at this must have been you know what? The familiarity of growing up in the same area and knowing actually probably some of the same people along the line, especially with your dads being pilots for
We
Easter.
went to the same dentist. Our dogs went to the same vet.
And you never ran across each other during that time.
We're convinced that we were in the same room at some point somewhere, same movie theater or the same restaurant or same parties. You know,
Like I said, we worked. I managed a sporting goods store, and she worked at a restaurant. They're right across the driveway from each other.
You probably right. You know what? The law of attraction didn't help till you were mature enough to accept each other.
Exactly.
You know,
Is that it? Well, you understand, Mark and Lori worked in that area. My last job before I went full time as a stand-up comedian was a branch director of a YMCA that was in the Jonesboro area, which literally was right there within 5 miles of them. I mean, so none of us knew anything about each other during that time, but yeah, we're all South Side Atlanta people.
Well, you went to the shop at the sporting goods store I managed.
Yes.
Before when I wasn't working there.
Yep, we would buy all of our T-shirts and youth sports supplies for our YMCA sports leagues from his place. And little did we know, a few years later, we were going to all get together and end up like this.
And who knew that we would all end up like this? They're young enough, Al, because I actually have a couple of clips from each one one clip from each one of you for the audience to see. And I'm going to bring up yours, Al, first.
Okay.
As we're talking here, because let me see here where I am. Because this is another thing for people to realize that you can actually share slides and videos. I can go to YouTube and get all this stuff. And I'm going to share the screen here. And okay, here we go. And we will be able to watch you, Al.
Yeah, I'm curious to see which clip you got.
It's one about being 60.
Oh.
And I'll just show a little clip of it here for the audience to see. And actually, it'll go full screen once I turn it on. Because I'm taking my own stuff, bear with me here because that's what I do is, okay, let's go here.
Right, I hit the age of 60. One of the first things that happens is I blow out my patella tendon on my knee. Now, that's no fun whatsoever. However, the worst part about it is explaining how it happened. You want to say I was diving across 41 to save a lady with a baby buggy.
Wow, you just it didn't even get to the punchline.
Oh. Undo your pants, pull up your shirt,
I gotta buy a ticket for
bend over and grab the handle. You hit the age of 60, and apparently when you're a fat guy, the health dominoes just go whoop, right? Right, I hit the age of 60, and one of the first things that happens is I blow out my patella tendon on my knee. Now, that's no fun whatsoever. However, the worst part about it is explaining how it happened. You want to say I was diving across 41 to save a lady with a baby buggy, and my knee went out. And I said, I walked up the step. So, however, that part of the surgery, you get me fixed up. That part of the surgery, not that really, However, when we get the statement back from the hospital, it reads all the items that I had. It says like, aspirin, Tramadol, bandages, and then it says cadaver patella tendon, fresh. Now, I've heard of donating blood, but is there another surgical room where there's a bunch of people going, yeah, I got two, go ahead, you can just take that one right out right now. Or I thought, fresh, I mean, do they call patellas are us? And the guy goes, look at his insurance, that sucks, get him the 3-day-old.
Wow. I didn't even know that was on tape anywhere. So you're surprised. Yeah. Thank you. Wow. I see, this is how advanced everything is. I had never known that one ever made it to the internet.
Well, and when we did the interview last week, I was telling Mark, I went and listened to your Jester Dog. .com, and you have clips on there, and I was listening to them, and I ended up an hour and a half later, and I was laughing so hard I had to go get Depends.
Well, no, see, at least you can afford Depends, and in the poor comedians world, we call them, we get them from the dollar store and call them Grampers.
Oh, Grampers. Well, I get poise actually, just so the leakage doesn't happen when you.
Oh my God! Yeah, thank you, Marie. Thank you.
Lori, you know about that, right? You know, if
leakage
and the bladders give out, and what do guys do? What do guys do? Oh,
what do we do? What do we, Mark? Why don't you tell them, what do we do with leakage?
I grab some Spanx, and what happens, you just get these big tumor things that grow from the, because there's nowhere to go. So don't do that.
Call it a tumor.
It's a leakage tumor. My leakage tumor.
That's so
it's
funny.
Benign.
Oh, what did I do? I might have taken you off air there, Mark. For
yeah, well, I can see it. Yeah, you just got edited, buddy.
Well, I had yours queued, ready to come up, and okay. Well, as we're talking here, and I'm trying to find stuff, you guys have a conversation about.
No problem. I had no idea that whole bit was out on the internet somewhere. What other surprises can we have today? That's what I want to know.
It was like making money off you and you didn't know it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this is the one that I had queued for. Oh, wait. I have to take me off air right now, and you.
Okay, bye, Marie. I think we can do this kind of show. I don't see any real. I think we could go on air 24/7 with this.
Yeah, like what was that thing with Jim Carrey? The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yeah, there you go. I like it. Well, this has been folks that are still out there wondering what is going on. The host has taken herself off the air, and apparently we have taken over the channel completely.
I've never seen a host get up and walk out. But any kind of
yeah. Well, I see a screen popping there. Somebody must be monitoring us. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to get his cued, and I have background noise when I do that. If I'm off air, guys don't hear what I'm doing. So.
Are we gonna get to hear Mark?
Well, you're going to, but just wait.
Sorry, buddy. Your big opportunity.
And why don't I just do the bit here?
Yeah. You can just finish it up right there. That'll be perfect.
Sound system right behind me. I'll just.
No problem, boy. This is rolling right along. I think that's Lori. Did she find? I wonder if she found any of your video out there.
God, I hope not. I think the only one that's out there was my class graduation show.
Oh, they didn't tape from T Days and put it up?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Lori the Lori in the dark.
Oh,
in the dark.
Lori in her dark comedy, and it's not because of the content. It's just we couldn't see her.
No lighting. Yeah.
the Amish club that opened up.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm still, folks. As you can tell, we all have our little situations where we know what's going on some of our
This is not
shows,
one of them.
and this is not one of them. Oh, now we're all go. Oh, we're to the side. Oh,
Oh, dry bar.
Yeah, his open bar and your dry bar.
That's the point in my show where I forgot my lines.
so you're just frozen.
Yeah.
There he is.
Oh, cool.
But you're an ex man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Little Talks with Pop Cult X. I'm your co-host, Daniel. And along with Gabriel, we are...
Yeah, that wasn't it.
Man, you really made a change. I didn't know you were that Gabriel. Okay, Gabriel.
Use my name and everything.
Oh my God! Oh, I had it queued up. It was playing on my hands, and I brought it up. What's that? So, Mark, for another day, we'll have to do you.
Oh, I can't wait to have us back so we can. What else? Who else can you have on the show, Marie?
I can tell you about that show. That show was pretty interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, tell us about it.
That was when I did my dry bar special. If you ever heard of
Right.
dry bar comedy, that was. I wish I should have shown. I've lost 100 pounds since then.
yeah.
We didn't get a close up, but it's owned by the Mormons, believe it or not, and it's called Dry Bar because they don't sell any alcohol at that showroom. In fact, you can't even buy a Coca-Cola because caffeine is a stimulant, and it's against the Mormon faith. So
Right.
there's a clean comedy, and then there's a level higher called Provo Clean because the show is in Provo, Utah. And so that was a lot of fun to do, and it's a huge production out there. Anybody else could say anything?
Well, would you say that was the most unusual place you've ever done comedy, Mark? What's the most unusual
Oh,
place?
not even close.
Okay.
Now what do we got to think? I think of the places you and I have worked together on that Texas.
I
run.
think the dumpster at the pizza place is one of the great
Yeah.
ones.
When Munoz, the guy that added up outside of Atlanta, when the power went out, and we took all the chairs out in the parking lot and set the microphone up in front of the dumpster.
Yep, did comedy in front of the dumpster at the pizza place.
And then we got in trouble because people brought their wine outside, and he didn't have a license to have wine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we had
Yeah,
to
we
sneak
had-
back in before the police came.
Well, I mean, I've done that. I've done comedy at a gas station, at a Citgo gas station in Aiken, South Carolina. I mean,
you did a Wrap-A-Bag in Montreal.
yes, I did. I did a wrap. Yeah, I did where they wrap your bag in
Yeah.
in the plastic wrap for security for international flights. That was during the Just for Laughs comedy festival, and they thought it would be really cool to put stand-up comedians in all these unusual places. And obviously, my number came up, and they went, "Oh, we'll just send them to Wrap-A-Bag." And
It's bad enough when you're in a bar and they mix a frozen drink in the blender right on the punchline, but when you had to have an entire family moving to Guam and they're getting all their bags wrapped up.
Yep, and me trying to tell jokes. I mean, I've also worked the Publix deli as well. So
Really?
yeah, yep. Boar's Head Meats was introducing a new line of crackers, and they were supposed to be healthy keto crackers. Well, I mean, I've already said the name of the company, and I know that they're based out of Sarasota. They were lovely, wonderful people to work for, but their crackers, I would have rather eaten the box itself.
Yeah.
Well, now you probably know this. Coconuts used to book a nudist colony that I performed in.
Oh, right.
Allende, I think it was called, something like that.
And so they'd all sit around nude?
Not the ones you'd want them to be, but
Well,
I
it's
did.
awkward.
you see me on the nude beach, and when
Oh.
Lisa's,
We had the option. We had the option of stripping to perform, and this was one of those places too. I didn't, but this is one of those places where they had cameras on you, so there was video screens all over the club where people could see you, including the big 12-foot screen behind me, which means had I been naked, I guess you could say this on internet, my junk would have been right behind my head.
There you go.
and
Well, I've done nude cruises. I worked the nude cruises for Carnival Cruise Lines. So
Yeah, but that was just
wow.
something you decided to do.
Well, and both of you were working Carnival Cruise Line, and we'll have to talk about it on another show, how you ended up with those gigs and how long you did them, because I know Get Cool does a lot of, I think he does celebrity cruises.
right, but we made his career. So.
Yeah. So we'll
We do
have
shows. He does
Get on, and I'll talk to you guys after, but I wanted to say to the audience, thank you for being patient with us today, well, with me today, because I'm doing the teching in the background and moving things around. And Mark, I kept on going to that clip of you, and I got it up, and every time I went to go put it on the screen, it would be a different video than what I brought up. So I don't know what's going on. You know what? You make life out of the technical glitches that you have. You make comedy out of
Yes, you do.
watching can see the three of us Saturday night.
Yeah, well, that's the big reason we want to be on here today, Marie, with your listening audience and the watching audience. They need to come to that very large named venue center, the Punta Gorda Regional International Assembly Center, and
Bar and Grill.
Bar and Grill. Yeah.
It's the Punta Gorda Isle Civic Association. It's on 2000
Okay.
on Shreve Street, Punta Gorda. And if just for our audience that may be listening right now, in Punta Gorda, if you know where the history park is, just keep on going past there, and it's on the right hand side. There'll be a tennis court there, and it's kind of up. And it's illusion is a lot bigger inside than when it appears to be on the outside. It's actually a decent sized room that you'll be performing in. I actually like the acoustics in there are good too.
Well, let me say it this way: that if you know where Punta Gorda is, if you've heard of Punta Gorda, you're going to find this place.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It's off the beach. I don't know. I mean, truthfully, look for the signs for the history park, and then you just go past and stuff. Because I don't know if it's really marked well. The Punta Gorda Isle Civic Association. I think I had trouble going by it, and it's right past the library too. The new Punta Gorda Library, and
Right.
the park's next door. And you keep on
So
going. It's after that.
let me say, last word was Mark, Lori. You can back me up on this. The VIP tickets are already gone, but our general admission tickets.
General admission is $45. It includes 2 beverage tickets during the show.
Adult beverage.
Yeah, adult
Adult
beverage. Beer and wine, I think, is the adult beverage of choice, and or any other kind of drinks if you're not a alcoholic drinker like some of us in this world aren't. But you can come and see these guys, and it's all to benefit the Peace River Wildlife Center, because they are moving from off of way down on the end at Ponce de Leon Park. They have to move, and they're moving down onto Henry Street, which won't be far from where you guys are performing. So if you want to see these men in action,
And ladies.
oh, and ladies, no, is Lori the only other woman with you performing?
Yes.
Well, no, his other wives will be there too. That's why he did that gig in Utah.
Yeah, I changed my life.
It changed his life. So the sister, it's me, Mark, and Mark's sister wives are gonna be there.
So you're
So
the recovered Catholic.
He's singing.
Right? You're the recovered Catholic into Mormon. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm a recovered Catholic too, but I'm not Mormon.
Okay, Marie, you've been the star of the show. Really, we hold nothing to what you've brought to today. I don't think I've laughed harder in a show ever. You're great.
Well, you know what? Next time we'll bring it all on, and we'll make sure that we bring other people on with us, and we'll
Well, we
make
had
this
Carrie and
happen
his buddy.
forever. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
This is Marie LaBrosse, your host, Mark Evans from the Sandbar Comedy and a comedian, and just your dog, Ernst, and we never even got into that yet, his dog comedy. So,
Yep, that's another episode, is Al's dog comedy. Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
yeah, have a great day, everybody. Remember, Saturday,
Yes, be there.
August 26th. Be there. What a Hoot comedy show. Thank you. Bye-bye.